When it comes to arranging techno, it's the small details that separate a loop from a track that actually moves people. In today's video, I'm breaking down 3 techniques that took my tracks from flat and repetitive to dynamic and engaging. So last week in my automation video, we spoke about 3 principles that I use to transform my sound design and automate things in a more interesting way. And today I wanted to rejig those principles and apply them to arrangement. So today the 3 methods we're talking about are A and B sections, transitions and events, and finally ear candy, random ear candy. And to demonstrate that idea, as usual, we have a loop in Ableton. Really proud of this example here because it includes a loop from a free sample pack that I'm about to release. The sample pack includes some of my favorite kick and tom sounds that I've run through my modular channel to add analog saturation and grit. So keep your eyes peeled for that one, it's really nice. But let's get stuck in and talk about the first topic, A and B sections. So as I'm sure you can see, I've highlighted in orange the topics that we're going to talk about today. In short, A and B sections are like 2 contrasting phrases or patterns that have clear distinction from each other. And to demonstrate this, I've created 2 different hi-hat and percussion patterns to show you what kind of impact this can have on the arrangement of your track. I'll just play this section of the loop so you can see how these 2 sections interact with each other. So as I'm sure you could hear, there was a clear distinction between those 2 percussion sounds, and you can hear what kind of contrast that adds to that part of the track. I'll solo those drums so you can hear specifically what those loops are. So A and B sections are really important because they add a bit of contrast to your arrangements and they tell a bit of a story. They can be used in a really short format like this to form a more interesting loop, or you can use them to signify different parts of your arrangement. The second method I'm talking about today is transitions and events. I've got a couple of different examples of this method in this loop, but I'll zoom in on this one here and talk a bit more about what impact it actually has. So in this section that I've expanded here, you can see we've got a riser going into an impact that hits on the first beat of the new phrase. This riser I've made here is with my texture engine that's free on Gumroad if you want to download that. And that sort of signifies that something's going to happen at the end of this phrase. When we reach the end of that phrase, I've got this impact sound here on the 1 to kind of announce the new phrase. And I'll play this section of the loop with and without these transitions and events, and you can see what kind of impact it has on the final result. So without. And then with. So it's a really simple, low effort way to add a bit of depth and musicality to your arrangements. And then the final method I wanted to talk about was ear candy. This method is where attention to detail is really critical. Some of the best local producers in Australia at the moment are using this method in a really advanced way. Have a listen to some music by Connor Wall or Hazvat Informant, for example, and you'll see how this attention to detail when it comes to random bits of ear candy really transform how a track evolves and develops over time. Now in my example, I'm showing this at a really basic level, but this demonstrates the importance of adding subtle bits of randomness to your arrangements. This entire FX section here is just filled with random sounds that are only happening once in this arrangement. This technique is how you add that final polish to your productions. Techno is mostly made of repetitive and hypnotic elements. That's kind of the reason why we love and enjoy it. But the way you have the biggest impact on transforming a sound from being repetitive and monotonous is by surprising people's ears every now and then. I'll show you what these individual sounds sound like and give you a bit of an idea of what I mean by ear candy. So just little once-off, trippy, random events that never happen again can transform a boring, repetitive loop into something that feels like a full piece of music. So to see us out, I'll play this loop in its entirety so you can hear all of these methods in action. But thanks so much for tuning in and watching till the end. If you'd like to support the channel, a subscribe goes a long way, or you can buy my Ableton tools in the Gumroad linked in the description below. I'll be updating that every few weeks, so there's always going to be some new production tools that you can take advantage of. Appreciate your support. Thanks for tuning in.